All set? Okay. I'll call to order the October 12th, 2022 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee. We do have one member who is remote, so I'll take a roll call attendance. Justin Casanova Davis.
Here.
Todd Lindmark.
Here.
Chris Baker.
Here.
Kevin Champagne here. Justin Unosik.
Here.
Aaron Hunt.
The microphone a little closer.
Here.
All right, we'll get into the agenda items. I'm going to take it a little bit out of order because unfortunately, Chief Kinney had an emergency come up. He's not going to be here. And Justin and Todd need to leave for advisory at 6:45, and we won't have a quorum, so we'll have to get through what we can and then postpone any other items to the next meeting. But we will do the first agenda item as usual is public comment. So anyone on the phone or in the audience that has anything they would like to share? Seeing no hands. So I'm going to, we have 3 agenda items. I'm going to address those first just to get through them. The first is please discuss and vote on final locations of the fire station informational boards. So we did receive approval from OCPF on the revised board that is essentially just a picture of the fire station that says proposed fire station and then has a QR code to the town website. So I believe we reviewed that at the last meeting and everybody was good with how the board looked. I was going to ask to vote on the number of locations where we wanted to put this up. But I honestly couldn't remember all of them that we discussed and we reached out to. I had reached out to the senior center, the transfer station, and the library, and they were all okay posting it. Did we have any others, Aaron, Chris, or?
Ann's Market was okay with us posting it there.
So Ann's Market.
The only other one I could think of is NCTV said they'd take one.
So we have library, so town hall, and transfer station. I thought the chief had 2 others. I guess.
Is it the senior center on there too?
Yep, I said Ann's Market, NCTV, library, town hall, transfer station, and DPW. I thought the chief had talked to 2 others, but I don't remember who they are.
One of them, the Silla's the coffee shop, or Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, one of them was the coffee shop for sure, Silla's.
Silla's
yep.
Coffee Shop. I don't remember if Dunkin' Donuts was one of
Yeah, I
them.
can't either.
So I guess, do you guys want to vote on, I guess at this point, we probably just need to vote on the number of boards that we want to have Doran Whittier make, and agree on the locations, or we could vote on it at the next meeting when the chief, presumably the chief will be here.
I mean, I think getting these out sooner rather than later is better.
Yeah,
I think we've pushed it off long enough and done our approvals and due diligence to make sure that we're not unduly influencing anything.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 boards. Ron,
Did
do you
include
remember
the fire
how?
station?
No.
Well, they have the main set of boards, the
They
fire
have-
station
yeah.
does.
So
Okay.
I don't know if we need to duplicate that or.
probably not. Probably not.
No, but you might want to have a couple extra in case one goes walking or.
I was gonna
you know,
suggest
one,
that, yeah.
One gets wet or whatever.
So we say 8 or 9, maybe? Donna, do you have something you want to add?
I was going to suggest downstairs with the town clerk
Yeah, I wrote down town hall for.
and
so-
here. Because if you're doing business on this floor or upstairs, you'd come in from the parking lot, but if you're doing in-person voting, you might come in the front.
So maybe we get 9, And if we don't have any extra locations, we can keep the 2 extra here on display.
That's reasonable. I agree.
Okay?
Also, we can revisit it, if we need to add any other boards, if Chief King has any other selections. But I agree with Justin, we probably want to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. So Ron, you just need to know how many we need to make, correct?
Yes. I think that, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think we had said 10, but if you want to make it 9, 11, doesn't matter. As soon as you let us know the number, we're going to send it to the same company that has done all the other printing. So we're good to go as soon as you let us know what number.
Okay. Yeah, I think,
Can citizens get a sign?
so these are going to be like actual poster boards that can be scanned from a QR code. So like if it's like an individual citizen, well, we were thinking that these would be in public spaces that people will walk by and scan it.
Okay.
I guess, are you thinking to post at your residence?
Yeah, on Main Street, right on Main Street.
Long sign. The committee can't pay for it.
How big is it?
No.
Is it?
Oh, no, so these can be paid out of the fund because OCPF said it was generic enough and wasn't promoting the project. It was just informational only.
I think a lawn sign, we wouldn't be able to pay
Yeah.
for it because that would show that we're
Yeah.
taking a position in an election. So if a citizen wanted to make their own lawn sign and illustrate their position, I think that would be reasonable, but us as a committee, we can't take that step.
And I also think these signs you wouldn't be able to read just driving down the road either. You wouldn't be able to see what's on them. You'd have to walk by it, stop and look at it, kind of thing. Also,
QR coding while driving.
Yes.
What about the housing authority? That's another option, to have a sign or a meeting for the fire station building committee at the housing authority on 115 right by the Grange of the entrance where the Freeman School is, by the where the people are doing for the I was thinking the housing authority on 115 Rockwood Road by either put a sign there or just have it inside the housing authority for the people, for the elderly and the people, so they would understand about it. And it's between the Grange, it's right across the road from the Grange and the Freeman School, where the other part of the driveway where where they do the haunted crawl and the facility is low and dark. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I think if we have 9 or 10, then if we think of another couple locations around town. Ron, how much are they each board? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know off the top.
No, I don't know. We haven't, because we talked about 2 things. We talked about getting a better paper quality, right? So if it rains on the boards, they don't get destroyed. And a better foam core product. So what I can do is, why don't I reach out to them and just ask them price per board if we were to get 10 of them? Because I suspect the price goes down, the more you buy,
Yep.
right? So I can reach out to them and get a price.
Well, we need to, I don't want to be like, oh, get a price, next meeting, vote on that price. Like, how do we structure this so that, I think we discussed it at a meeting prior, and the price didn't seem outrageous.
Do you have a ballpark number, Ron, where we can say, yeah, if it comes in this amount, then we can just approve it?
Yeah. Allegro, right? Is that the name of the company? Or Allegra. So, just to give you an example, the last one we got was, they're basically $100 a piece. What we got, so the ones that we bought last time, which were 2, that's the wrong invoice. So hold on. Okay. If you want to go on to something else while I look up the invoices, I'm just going to
Sure.
find the one. That
Well,
they,
so the next one was, please consider approval of Doran Whittier amendment for exterior acoustic study. So I don't know if you need to walk through that one too.
Can we do the minutes while he
But,
does
yeah.
that?
You do the minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so please consider approval of the meeting minutes.
Yep. The last ones I reviewed were, I think, July 20th regular meeting minutes. They had one comment that was fixed, so I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the July 20th regular meeting minutes.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, with roll
So,
call.
yeah, so we'll have to take a roll call vote. Aaron Hunt?
All right.
Okay, Justin Yanosik?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Chris Baker?
Aye.
Todd Lindmark?
Aye.
Justin Casanova Davis?
Abstain? July. I wasn't
Okay.
here.
There.
All right. It passes anyway.
So the boards were $150 apiece
Okay,
For each individual board or for the set of 7?
for each individual board.
Okay.
okay.
So,
50.
10 of those would be $1,500. And like I said, there may be a little bit of an upcharge on that just because we're going to ask for better paper and better board. So, but as you can see, it's not, it's not a lot of money for what the purpose is.
Sure. Maybe we just get, 3 or depending on what the cost difference is between kind of the,
You want to do a not to exceed?
Kevin, like in the past, haven't we done this, like, the committee votes to have you or I approve the final number as long as it doesn't exceed $2,500?
yeah.
Yeah.
You want to say, 2,500. So we'll make a motion to approve up to 10 boards, not to exceed $2,500.
Seems like that's a lot. It seems like a lot compared to 1,500, but yeah, that's fine.
Say 2,000?
Yeah. It's,
Okay. So,
There's a question on the size of the boards and if they'll all be the same size.
yeah, I guess,
They would all be the same size. Yep.
yeah, just,
okay.
And these would be the same size as the quote you have, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I would assume that we're going to order the ones that you have the quote for, like the same size.
Yep, same size.
Yeah.
Yeah, the size that they're the same size as the boards that we have currently at the fire
Yes.
station.
Okay.
So roughly poster board size. All right, so I think we can decide, once the boards are made, the exact locations that we're going to put them in.
Yeah.
So I'll ask for a motion to approve Doran Whittier purchasing up to 10 boards, not to exceed $2,000 without full committee approval.
so moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Aaron Hunt,
All right.
Justin Yanosik,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Chris Baker,
Aye.
Todd Lindmark,
Aye.
Justin Casanova Davis.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. All right, so the only other action item, Ron, is please consider approval of Doran Whittier amendment for exterior acoustical study.
So so recently, basically, the code now says that any development cannot double the amount of noise at the property line. And so what projects now have to undertake is basically measuring the ambient sound system, or the ambient sound of the site, and make sure it doesn't increase by 10 decibels. And 10 decibels is essentially doubling the sound, right? If you know how decibels work. So what we've done is we've reached out to an acoustic engineer to come down to the site and put up 2 sound monitoring pieces of equipment. And they're going to leave them there for several days They're going to gather all the data, so basically every hour of every day for several days, and measure how loud it is on the site. And what that means is that then they can take a look at our mechanical design for the building, which is a VRF system, which means it's not all that loud, but we do have air intakes and air exhausts coming out of the sides and the back of the building. And then they can do an analysis to let us know how loud the noise is. And, we want that as part of the project record. And I think you as the owner also want that as part of the project record, just in case when the building's done, if anybody ever says, hey, did you ever measure the sound? We can say we did. In our original agreement, we don't normally hire an acoustic engineer. But in this particular case, because the state essentially now mandates it, we think it's a good idea to do it.
Do we have a choice if the state mandates it?
Not really.
This seems frivolous and wasteful.
Yeah, it's a fire station now, and
Yeah.
we're building a new fire station. So there's
Yeah.
there's no
There's no
wiggle room
way
if
to
it's
get it.
not a change in use.
Right.
This isn't a development either, it's a
Ron,
building.
you said this was a state code?
Yeah, it's a state regulation.
Yeah, DEP.
And basically, it's
Do you mind sending us the language?
oh, yeah, I can do that. In fact, I'm getting pretty good with these email searches today, Steve. Found some stuff back in January for the meeting we had earlier today. So, let's see.
Are they testing 24 hours a day, or how does that work?
Yep, 24 hours a day.
Okay. So does it increase, obviously, if it's leaving the station and the siren's on?
Oh, no, that's different. That's different. Can I share my screen?
Okay.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. So, can you all see this?
Yes.
All right, so if you were to look up basically the code, right? So Mass General Law now, Chapter 111, Section 142A through M reads as follows, and the one that's pertinent to us is that the noise source will be considered to be a violation of the department, and again, that's the Massachusetts State Department that regulates this. Under the noise regulation of the code, if the source increases the broadband sound level by more than 10 decibels. When you look up 10 decibels, it's basically the measure of twice the noise. So if you have an ambient of 10 decibels and it's 20, you know that you've increased the sound twice as much. Or if you produce a pure tone condition, when an octave band center frequency and sound pressure exceeds the two adjacent center frequencies by 3 decibels. So if you were to build a building anywhere and you have this pure tone condition, which could be created, my best example of this is if you know what a variable frequency drive is, which is an electrical piece of equipment, and it has this kind of hum to it constantly. And so basically what we're doing is the criteria is measured at the property line and the nearest residence. So what we're doing right now is we're doing the measurements for the property line, because obviously the nearest residence is further away than the property line, right? So when we measure this at the property line, we're going to be able to then say, okay, if we get this at the property line, then clearly we're not 10 decibels at the nearest residence. And we do have 2 residences that are abutting, well, 3 if you include the resident portion of the church. So the goal here and then what we're trying to do is just get the ambient sound get the ambient sound measure, and then be able to do the calculations for the type of equipment that we have inside the building, for the air exhaust and the air intake for ventilation. Now,
Ron,
because you have a
Ron,
VR, yep.
Ron, how are we defining a sound source?
Because we have the sound measuring devices that'll get installed.
I'm sorry, like, this is the first time I've heard of this. It seems odd to me.
Okay.
Like, what?
We've been doing it on other projects too, Aaron.
Any new development is now required to hire an acoustician to measure their property?
Yes.
Any new project?
Any new project.
Regardless of its size or condition or...
I can look
location?
let me look up the criteria. I'll send it all to you, Aaron.
Okay.
Because, there are some...
I mean, we're not changing the
I
use of
believe
the
that-
site.
Yeah, we aren't changing the use of the site, but we are, doing a major renovation or a new building.
I mean, we're not taking
You
a
have
city
outdoor
park and turning it into a
equipment.
junkyard or a metal storage facility or a rocket ship launching site.
Right. Yeah, there are, look, I completely agree with you. I mean, but we've spent a few weeks trying to push back on this. And
You have outdoor mechanical equipment, and that's a lot of what, had another project where the generator became an issue for an abutter, and we had a Centec came down and did the study and actually proved that it was below the thresholds in DEP's policy. But it was an issue that went back and forth. So I have other projects with condensers outside, condensers on the roof, a generator. We're doing the noise study.
I mean, the noise level it generates should be in the owner's manual or the operating manual of the piece of equipment, shouldn't it?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's exactly how we do the study. So to answer Aaron's question, you're on a main road, so every time a car goes by, the sound is going to increase on the site. Okay, and so what they do is they measure that, as we said, for several days, 24 hours a day, and they come up with an average ambient sound, and the average ambient sound is the one that you're looking for. So absolutely 100%. If this site was located in a green field somewhere, not around by anything, and all you had was the crickets, you're going to have a very low threshold in terms of noise at your property line. Given the fact that you're on Main Street, given the fact that it's downtown, you get the train going by, because the train's obviously going to make some noise as it goes by. Well, all that gets measured into the ambient sound system, and then, or into the ambient sound measurements. Then they do take all the sound pressure, the sound data that we have for the units, and we also do it across the louvers on the outside of the building for the air going in and out, and that's how we do the analysis. And the acoustic engineers are able to calculate all of that and say, you're not going to double your sound, which is the 10 decibel threshold at the property lines. And then once we know at the property lines, then, clearly we're not going to be doing it at the residence, which is further beyond. It's just, it's kind of one of those things where if we don't do it, and somebody complains about it, then, we're going to have to do it anyway. The last thing I'll say is the emergency sounds don't factor into this. So there may be, and every job is different, right? And every building inspector is different, so if they wanted to, we believe that the emergency generator wouldn't, because that's not part of the building operation. That's an emergency system that kicks on in an emergency. Same thing with the sirens, which you asked about a minute ago. The fire truck sirens are not part of the building that operates all the time. If you don't have a call for 3 days, you don't hear those sirens. And quite frankly, if the police drive by on the street, you're going to hear those sirens as well. So anything that has to do with something that is part of the operation of the building itself, the nuts and bolts of the building, is what we're measuring.
How much does this study cost?
We lost your audio.
As soon as we can, so.
There we go.
Sorry. I thought it
In
stopped.
anticipation of getting this approved, we have the folks going out there tomorrow to set up the sound measuring devices. We sent an email to the chief earlier today.
What's the cost of the project?
Estimated $7,000.
$7,000.
Estimated.
Before markup.
And have we reached out to the abutters to see if they feel this is a necessity?
Well, we haven't, only because it's a state regulation. If it were a best practice or a recommended thing, I think we would reach out to people. We certainly would talk to Bob, the building inspector, to get his opinion. But because the way that we're reading this and the way that regulation is that we sent off to you, well, that we just read, we don't feel like we have a choice. And like I said, we got to go forward with it in terms of us on the design side because of the timing of everything. So.
Do you have a copy of the proposal that you can bring up on this? I don't have it printed out. You have it printed out?
Let me see if I can find that.
So $7,000 is estimated, but it's a not to exceed number.
Correct. Well, the $7,000
Plus
is,
markup. That's their cost.
yeah, it's just plus the mock-up, but,
Does the state lay out in its law how exactly the study needs to be conducted?
yes.
So they tell you that it has to be studied by this type of device for this period of time using this individual?
They give you a little bit of a range of what you can actually use in terms of equipment. But yes, they tell you that this is, there are standards and practices that they expect you to do in terms of this. And so it's basically an environmental acoustic review. What we have, what I can share with you, let me see if I can share my screen for this, is, this is straight from Cabinetachi on October 3rd. But, I mean, if it helps, I don't know if it does help. The fee started at $11,000. And we did go through with them exactly what we'd be doing, how we'd be doing it. And basically took some things out that we didn't think we had to do. For instance, going up to the residents, to the church, and the residents on the other side to do the measurements, at their residence, we really don't need to do that, because the reality is if we're at 10 decibels, if we're less than 10 decibel increase at the property line, then obviously we're not going to be that at the resident. And the way that the regulation is written, if we are at 10 decibels, it really doesn't matter. We got to get below 10 decibels, right, at the property line. So for that reason, we just said, let's not do, those other ones. Let's just do the property line. And so that's what we're.
Right. So Ron, if this is a known entity and it's a state code, why isn't this part of the code review? Why is this something the project has to pay for?
We didn't have it in our proposal. We didn't know it would be required. Our thinking is exactly like your thinking. We have a fire station. We're replacing the fire station with a fire station. The existing fire station has a generator. The new fire station is going to have a generator.
So who's saying it's required?
Who is saying it's required?
Yeah.
State.
When did they say it was required? When did this start?
All this conversation started in September.
So they just passed this code change in September?
No, I don't know when the code changed. I can find that out for you as well.
Is there any?
It's just omitted, it was omitted from their design fee proposal. I think that's what you're getting at?
Yeah, we just didn't have it in the design proposal, in the fees that we had sent to you, because we did not expect to have to do it.
So there must be some reasoning to why you didn't expect to have to do it. So why can't we stand by that reasoning?
Because we checked with the state.
Why did we check with the state?
Yeah, we basically said, why do we have to do this? It's an existing fire station. we're building a new fire station. It's not, it's not as if what you just described, Aaron, right? If you had an empty piece of land and there's nothing there and you want to build a housing development and it abuts properties owned by other, residences, then, that's different, right? Because those people bought their properties when there wasn't a development there. Well, this fire station's been here since the 1960s. So,
If we don't do this and the state becomes aware that we didn't do it, what happens?
well, it's like anything else, I believe. I'm not an attorney. You'd probably want to ask your town attorney that, but I think everything, it's like just if there's a complaint. Like, you can do a lot of things in this world that if nobody ever complains and it doesn't bother anybody, then nobody really cares, right? But I think it's only when someone complains. And that's, I don't think that what we're looking at here is an environmental noise ordinance. And like I said, your property is on Main Street. It's not as if as one of you just mentioned, you're changing the use, right? We're not changing the use. So, I think everybody knows that there's a fire station here.
So what was the case that was made to the state?
We simply asked them, do we actually need to do this?
You need to stop
Without
asking
any
that question.
parameters? I mean, do they understand the conditions?
Well, we said we have an existing building, we're replacing the existing building, is this still required? And the answer was yes. And we didn't push it any further. If if the decision is made that we should push it further, we'd be happy to push it further.
I think it's like a code upgrade, from the building code. If you're touching something, you have to meet current code.
Right, well, I mean, I'm now stuck into why it wasn't part of our, why it was excluded in the first place. Right, so I
mean, honestly, we just, at the time that we submitted our proposal, we did not know that we would need to do this, and shame on us.
So then I think we should make another ask of the state, see if we can't explain to them the conditions and see if they can't accept the condition.
Another route is to go and ask Bob in town if he requires it, so that we can go to the state as a local, and we can sort of say, well, the local inspector doesn't see a need for it.
I mean, I'm not
I
concerned
think-
about the building passing the decibel rating. I'm concerned that it's frivolous and wasteful. It's $7,000 that we don't need to be spending for absolutely no good reason, for no legitimate purpose. We're not changing the use. If the abutters were to ask for it, I think we owe them that service to provide it for them. But just because the state entity comes in and says that we do it, it's outrageous.
Is this anything that we can ask the town council if they're aware of any way that this has been addressed
Absolutely.
previously? Like, if you can prove
I
that
think
it's
that'd
an
be a great
existing
idea.
building and there's no change in the use or the equipment that's outside.
Are other, even private developers in town being required to
Yeah,
do this
right.
with new developments also?
Yeah, if I'm building a shed on my property, do I have to do this?
Is it a loud shed?
Like, it might be a loud shed, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a state regulation, I think we're grasping here a little bit, but I think let's not leave any stone unturned if we can.
Yeah, well, to all of that, I think we can start with Bob. And because if the local inspector is on our side, then, that could be meaningful to a conversation with the state. I think the state may also say, what does the local building inspector say? So we might as well get that answer before talking to them. And I can reach out to Bob tomorrow.
Okay.
Say, what do you think?
Can you reach out to Tom?
If I could just add, what this does do is if you have complaints down the road and everything that's been designed is within the parameters that it needs to be, this protects you from someone just saying, hey, I don't like the noise coming off the site.
Yeah, some sort of frivolous lawsuit later on, a resident or something.
We spend frivolous money now for the potential to not spend it later.
Well,
all-
the
all
issue if you do it
liability.
later when the new building's down is you don't have a baseline
Yeah.
of what was there before.
Right.
And if you're dealing with that, that will be more expensive than $7,000.
Just-
if you
just
or
Intermediation, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we do stuff all the time, pre-construction surveys, things like that of existing buildings, and, you know, that seems like money wasted ahead of time, and it's money wasted until someone files a lawsuit or a claim or anything like that.
But then how do they prove that it increased by that much too?
Yeah, right?
They don't have,
Well, then-
they don't
but
have to prove it.
But that's what, I think that's exactly what Don's saying, like, they don't have to prove it.
Right, it's
The
on-
onus is on us to
The
prove it.
onus
It's
is
on
on
us
the
to prove that
owner.
it hasn't, yeah.
And it's tough to recreate something that's already gone.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
you know, from every, you know, Justin, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, you know, we had a discussion with Steve just in terms of, you know, like, is this,
I mean, if this is something that should have been in the code review, I think it's a little outside the box to ask us for the markup on top of it additionally. Like, if this is something that's not new to this type of project, and we're all of a sudden finding out about it now, like, we've taken so many things out of the plan for this building to try to save every penny that we can. I just, like, I'm gonna be a no if we vote on this. I can't at all justify spending this money in my mind. Not $7,000, not $7, not on this.
We're happy to take our markup out of this.
Steve, is, you said that you've done this on other projects. Does the cost for this seem in line with those projects?
It is. We did it in Braintree. We did it, had the study in Situate. You know, there's, you know, different companies, but it's, the order of magnitude is the same.
So,
And it is sort of a coverage for you for later, if something does occur.
There was a chat sent that's saying that in that code, there was a exemption for emergency.
correct, so your emergency
Right.
generator wouldn't be in there, your fire sirens wouldn't be in there. So none of those emergency type signals, like some buildings have a fire alarm system on the exterior of the building. So if somebody does come back and complains, the exception is, you know, this is the noise of the building. All of these emergency noises don't factor in.
I would caution that the generator may not fall into that because it gets exercised once a week, and on the other projects, that was one of the main things that were being focused on, was the generator. So that you may want to recheck that.
We will.
And not exclude it, and then it becomes an issue.
Okay.
can we at least reach out to Bob and legal and just see if there's any other route here?
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
we'll postpone this to the next meeting.
Okay.
We're not going to ask for action on that.
There is a question. If,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, everybody. I can see my appreciation for the concern over spending money on this. As you've been talking, I've been, this is Paul Burns, by the way, looking this up, and I found a source on the internet, and I popped a link in the chat. Now, it's not a link that ends with .gov, unfortunately, but maybe one or more of you are familiar with aaronnoise.com, but it's about Section 710. And there's a listing in Section 3 of this website, which says what the exemptions apply to. And you're right, it would apply to emergency police, fire, and ambulance vehicles, so that we've discussed that. But then there's number 3 here, police, fire, and civil and national defense activities. And, you know, if that is how it's written in the code, to me, I read that pretty generally, you know, like the activities of a fire station would be exempted. So if nothing else, and I think we've kind of gotten to the point where it needs to be investigated further, I just wanted to, you know, maybe give a moment to pause here, especially since I think I heard I don't know if the plan was to set up the noise monitoring as soon as tomorrow. Anyways, that's it.
Can you pop that? You said it's in the chat?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Okay.
I apologize, I don't see it. It might just be,
Amanda, maybe if you can get it and send it to Ron tomorrow?
I'll put, if the chat was only sent directly to me,
Yep. So if you-
I'll send it. I
Yeah,
have
if
it
you
in
can
the
send it
chat.
out, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
I mean, nothing would make us happier if we didn't need to do this. Trust me.
Yeah, I
We're
think-
we're trying to finish the construction documents.
Yeah, I think we need to get this figured
Yeah.
out first before.
But I
they-
can
before they
definitely send
mobilize.
off an email to Bob and to Tom and just, ask them what their opinion is.
Yep. Okay.
Because again, I think, I think the two things, right? One is what you all said about if the neighbors don't care, why does anybody care? And then what Don said, which is, if anybody ever comes back in the future for whatever reason and makes a complaint about this, the question of due diligence is going to come up. And I think really what we're talking about is what Erin's getting at is, like, does every single project have to do this? And if so, what's the... So I'm just looking at this. Actually, if you want, I can share my screen so Erin can see
Yeah,
it too.
so I believe Justin and Todd have to leave to go to an advisory board meeting.
Okay.
Or can we, if there's only 4 of us here, can we still be going through discussion items, or do we have to stop the meeting? It's only action items that we, okay. So, yeah, I guess we can keep going and hit on, I don't know if we'll go through all these discussion items, because I think some of them the chief would want to be involved in, but we can get through some of them maybe, so. So you guys are, whatever you need to leave,
Okay.
head out.
I'm gonna head out. Just a quick question. Part of one of the action items, the community event, the fire station open house.
Yep.
Do we have like an understanding of who's planning on attending, when?
Yeah, so I was gonna bring that up. The chief had sent me an agenda. We were gonna talk about it today. It's mostly fire station activities, showing them how they rescue someone from a vehicle. I believe the plan was they were gonna have lunch at 11:30, and then we were gonna, for anyone who's interested, make a brief presentation at noon. So at a minimum, it'll be the chief and I there.
I'm gonna go for a little bit.
So Justin will be there for a little bit.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I like to come, so I'm trying to figure out what I.
So if we have 5 of us there, we need to post it as a meeting.
I think we should just post it to cover ourselves. Like if we post it and then 5 of us don't show up, is that a negative towards the meetings?
I don't think so.
So-
Amanda, can we post a meeting at this point, or is it too late?
Post it by tomorrow. 48 hours.
Or which day?
Saturday.
It's 48 hours.
Be Saturday, if you just say, Fire Station Building Committee meeting at Fire Station Open House for
11:30.
from 11:30 to 12:30.
What's the agenda
Meet and greet?
that she's going to post? Talk to the public?
Yeah,
Sure.
public interaction.
No votes will be taken?
Yeah, no
Comment.
votes will be taken, public interaction, or public information about the project, something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So then, as many people
Sure.
as want can show up.
Did you have anything on the FAQs? I think
sounds like we're having a
I think we
party.
should forward what.
What was that, Aaron?
Sounds like we're having a party.
I was told there'd be pizza.
The other item that I think we need the committee for this, were about some of the FAQs.
Yeah, so what I was going to suggest, did everybody have a chance to read through the FAQs? So we can go through them one by one. I was going to suggest maybe we do that next meeting. In the interim, I had marked up a copy. I can send that out to everybody. We obviously can't discuss it over email, but I can at least send what my comments were.
I would suggest that we do track changes. With some changes, just send in no comments on anyone's stuff, and we can sort of compile a word from that.
Okay.
Send it individually to Amanda. Right. Issues.
Yep.
Ready? Yeah.
So then, yeah, so,
They can't be sent around, they have to go directly to her. right?
Yeah, yeah.
well, so then I won't send out my comments to everybody. Everybody's just going to send in their comments to Amanda.
To Amanda.
Just send it to Amanda.
Okay. All right.
That
Thanks,
way
guys.
You don't break any open meeting law.
Okay. So, yeah, so if everyone on the committee can just send their comments and the FAQ separately, we'll try and compile them at the next meeting.
Take care.
Thank you,
Have a good
Frank.
evening.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Please discuss results of the October 11th Planning Board meeting. We actually did not attend that. It got continued because there's still a couple of open items, right, Ron? Maybe you want to bring everybody up to speed on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading. What was that?
So it says, we had a
The
discussion on
planning board meeting,
Yeah.
essentially, we had a meeting today with,
I might have suggested that be an agenda item before we found out last week that it was going to be continued to November, because there were a couple things that the third-party reviewer still wanted to see on the drawings.
like,
Yeah, so we got notified on Thursday. So Rich, based on our last meetings that Kevin was actually a part of and Chad from the from the planning board were part of, we thought we were all set. And then we had a planning board meeting where, again, we thought we were all set. The documents that we sent in were reviewed, and Rich had put together, a set of draft order of conditions, which basically said we had met all the criteria for the project. And when he sent that out 2 days later or a day later, we got a letter saying he sent that out too quickly and that the third-party reviewer had some more comments. So we reviewed everything with him today. There are a couple things he's asking to be modified with a little bit more specific detail on the drawings, which we told him we would do. On Thursday, when I was in contact with Rich, the decision was, let's just not go to last night's meeting. Let's push this off till November, because he couldn't meet. We were trying to get everybody on the call, right? So between the civil engineer, myself, Steve, Rich, the third-party reviewer, a couple folks from DPW who were on the call today, we couldn't get everybody on Friday, and we couldn't get anybody Monday, and then we just decided to push it out till November. So some of the things that were cited in the letter, he actually said, okay, we don't need that. But there were a couple things that he asked us to modify or make a little bit more specific. And we're going to do that. So nothing changes. The design doesn't change. It's like there's a letter that the town has of all the abutters. He wants those abutters on a drawing. He would like a cover sheet for the set to have that on there. In our response letter, we asked for some waivers, and we failed to list one of those waivers in a summary. And so we're going to take that from our response letter and put it into the summary. Just things like that. So we told him we'd do it.
Okay. And the plan is to be ready for November 7th, correct?
Correct. So we told him by the end of next week he'd have everything again, and go in front on November 7th.
Okay. Please discuss debt exclusion ballot vote procedure and schedule in October 18th Select Board meeting. So, Steve, I don't think everybody's been copied on it, but you've had some back and forth with the town clerk on timing.
I did.
And what's
it-
required for the vote.
Included in the packet was my 9, I believe it was my 9/22, hold on one second, 9/30 schedule that I sent to Carol Green, who's town clerk, along with an email with some comments / questions. She responded right away on that. I subsequently updated the schedule, and I can share my screen here. I did, let's see. unfortunately, I'm not,
You want us to come back to you, Steve?
well, actually, no, I've got to jump off for another meeting about 7:15. I want to try and roll through this as quickly as I can.
Yeah, well, so while you're searching for it, so at a high level, and I can't remember if we discussed this any at the last meeting, so Steve has updated the schedule that we're going to present to the select board on the 18th to hopefully get a vote on the timeline we outlined before, bids in November, special town meeting and vote in January, award in February. Apparently, there is, I know we talked about wanting to have kind of a multi-day vote to try and increase accessibility if there, if the weather was poor one day. It sounds like that it is actually something that needs to happen, early voting, or maybe it was, I think the mail-in voting has to happen. The early voting.
Let me just go through it. I for some reason, I can't get it to come up, but what we need to do is we need to get on the select board's agenda for the 18th. I did check, and that agenda isn't up yet. But we need to do that to do a couple things. We need to have them vote on having the special town meeting on January 11th. Then to vote to authorize the debt exclusion ballot / election for January 28th, 23. We do have more time, but I think it's best if we do it all at the same time. And then we need them to vote to conduct the early in-person voting. Early mail-in voting is required, and there's no vote to either do it or not do it. We need to do that. That's mandatory. There is the ability to opt out of it, but you have to go and conduct a public hearing. And I don't think we want to do that. I think we want to have the mail-in vote and not preclude anybody from the ability to vote on this. So, one of the key goals right now is to get on that October 18th select board meeting if we can, to go through those items.
It is going to be on the 18th meeting. And,
okay.
Justin is working with town council on the wording of that and the motions, of what exactly we need to ask for, the select board for, and what exactly they need to approve. But it is on the agenda. It's just not posted. It'll be posted tomorrow.
Okay.
Why does the committee have anything to do with about how the town votes? I mean, should the town be telling us?
Well, we were tasked with providing a schedule around our bidding schedule. That was one of the hard dates. Having that general contractor bid come in on December 22nd. We need that number in order to go to the special town meeting to know the entire cost of the project, say that we have a bid in hand. So we can't do any. We want to do as much as we can before that, but that's one of the hard dates that we have. Then there's certain things that have to be done after that to have the votes approved before the 30 business day period expires for the low bidder to hold his bid, which is essentially the 3rd of February, which I think is 29 days, but that ends up being a Friday.
Steve, let me rephrase my question. I mean, yes, we need to work out the dates, understood, but whether there's mail-in votes or absentee votes is irrelevant. It doesn't matter to the committee. The town, assuming, yes, that's happened. The town is voting, so those options are there. We just need to accommodate them.
Yeah.
Right? So our stuff needs to be done and given to the town so that people can be voted on. Right, but whether there is.
I can just help, I think. The last meeting that we had, Justin did talk about the fact that regulations have changed around voting and that we do have to do certain things. And so I think what Steve has done is put together the schedule that complies with the requirements, because early voting and in-person voting, I think, Steve, you've got those dates in there now, and that was, provided to us, I think, at the last meeting that we had, correct, Steve?
Well, I got more information. I mean, the town clerk is essentially the person that's in charge of elections and voting. So, as much as we can look up and discuss dates and times and have that information, actually, I think some of it started with the interim town manager. Carol Green is really the expert, because she's actually going to be doing it. We have to allow time for the ballots to be printed, the voting machines to be programmed, and if we don't have those things or assist in setting those up and they don't happen, then the schedule gets blown. So whether it's something above and beyond what we should be doing, we're doing it to get everything done and get it ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
I don't want to depend on anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, we put together the schedule to show the yellow dates are the dates we're trying to hit. And then you've been working with Carol to kind of fill everything in between, and then you back that out to when we need a vote by the select board and what that vote needs to say. I mean, Aaron's correct. We're not making the decision if there's mail-in voting or if there's early in-person voting. It sounds like both those things have to happen regardless, but I think it helps to see on the schedule when that timeline would all happen to hit that February date.
Yeah, I mean, this schedule is sort of all-inclusive, so what I did is I highlighted in yellow the hard dates that we had talked about previous meetings, and then the dates that are in light blue, those are items that are really related to town clerk, elections, ballot voting. So you can sort of, pick those out from our design and advertising and bidding schedule, and ultimately award. And I added construction down below, but the main emphasis is to line up all of this between now and the beginning of February, provided we have positive votes.
So Steve, one, I think Kevin was correct in speaking for me there, so thank you. Second, I'm glad this is being done. Yes, we did talk about this. So what have we found? The schedule's coming together and it looks like we can meet it, or we've got some schedule issues, we've got some questions to answer? What's the executive summary here?
The executive summary is that the schedule's there, the schedule can be met. We just need the select board to vote on the specific items that have to be done procedurally, and make sure that we, I can stay in contact with the town clerk, just to make sure that she's prepared and has ample notice based on, and she has the schedule. She looked at it today, gave me the thumbs up. She had one comment on one date, which was the end date for the early in-person voting. I made that correction, and it's.
So then, what are we doing to get in front of the select board?
Well, according to man, apparently we are on the agenda to discuss this. We met with them on the 14th of September and said that we wanted to come to their 18th meeting to get their vote. We gave them a preliminary overview of what our approach was. So
that's 18 October?
Yes, next week.
Yes, next week.
And sorry if I missed this, but so Kevin, are you going? Is this everybody should show up kind of thing?
If everybody can show up, that's great. At a minimum, myself and Steve will be attending.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. You said, do you have to jump off, you said?
All right, guys, I still got a little time. I would like to get through a couple more of the items that I have
Yep.
input, and I'll stop sharing this. I think the next item is just an update on the pre-qualification process. That is ongoing. I know people are still reviewing. We divided up the under the proposals we got between Doran, Whittier, Vertex, Justin, and Kevin. I know Kevin's sent some in already. Everybody's working on their scoring. My office is going through reference checks. I'd like to schedule a pre-qualification subcommittee meeting for sometime the week of the 24th, either the 24th, 25th, or 26th. I can send out invites for that, what works for people. And then ideally have the letters or have the approvals of who we're pre-qualifying, and we'll be doing sending letters out the week of the 31st of October. So I would say it's an ongoing process at this point, but I just did want to give a heads up on us having a meeting on that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of the week of the 24th.
Are you thinking that would be during business hours or after?
Well, I'm gonna say whatever works for you guys. I know people work, so if it's evening, it's evening.
I'm in the firehouse on Monday, so I won't be available on the 24th.
Okay.
But
Justin's not available on the 24th, Steve.
Okay, heard that. Yep.
I mean, so 27th is Wednesday. I don't even know.
That's a Thursday.
Thursday.
25th or the 26th is Tuesday or Wednesday.
26th would actually be our next meeting. So, I mean, I probably have a little more flexibility than you do during the day if I need to jump on a call. So,
Yeah, if we do it by Zoom, I can probably, it'll be easier for me. I just have
Yep.
to know when.
Does not have to be in person. It's Zoom.
yeah, so.
Yeah, we request Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you send out some potential times for Tuesday and Wednesday of that week, Steve?
Yeah, it makes it easier.
And Justin and I can respond.
So daytimes can work if potentially, because I can.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking like a 20-minute meeting or like a 2.5-hour meeting? Because that's going to factor in as well.
That's a good question.
It's not going to be a 20-minute meeting.
It's not going to be 20 minutes.
All right, so there'll be a little bit
My
more
best day is Monday or Wednesday after 2 o'clock, obviously, or 1 o'clock when Norfolk is the regular meeting day anyway.
And maybe it's something we do is either before or after our 6 o'clock meeting.
I mean, there's enough notice.
Quite frankly, if it works for everybody else not to have it during the day, I'd be happy to, see if our folks in the office would be willing to do like a 6 to 8 or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's our normal meeting time, 6 to 8, so I would say,
Right.
I mean, we could do it before then. Do you think an hour is enough, Steve, if we met at 5?
I don't know that I'm available the 25th. Let me see.
26th.
26th, okay. Sorry, I'm looking for an email. It's going to take a second.
Okay.
Okay, so.
I mean, I could do it anytime after 4 o'clock on the 26th. So if we wanted to try and do it before the meeting.
Yeah, I think I could probably accommodate that.
Do it by
All right,
Zoom.
why don't we lock in 4 to 6? How's that?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and if we can try
On the
and wrap
20
up.
on the 26th.
Yeah, try and wrap up by 5:30. That way, if we're having a meeting that night, I can drive up here.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Still speaking on that, I didn't have access to any of the Excel sheets, so I made my notes on some fine construction paper. But if somebody, I can scan it, or if I can somehow get access to the Excel sheets, I can input the data myself. But
Well, I know Laurie sent those out, but I'll make sure that they...
I checked every email, I checked all
So
the folders.
some of the emails she sent, Steve, went to an incorrect address for Justin. It was
Oh.
like .com instead of .net,
Okay.
so maybe just resend them.
.net, right. Okay, that's probably exactly it. All right. The next item is the 60% CD construction estimate. We did, let's see if I can call this one up. Oh, let's see. So we had the two estimators, PM&C and Fogarty, do their initial 60% construction document estimate. We got together on the 6th and had a reconciliation meeting. Lasted a couple hours going through the line items where they made certain adjustments on each other's construction cost estimates. This is simply my comparison chart. The original estimates at the bottom line, they were about $1 million off. So there was some things that were obviously included that didn't need to be, some assumptions that were made that were incorrect. So going through that reconciliation squares a lot of that out. Doesn't mean that their numbers are going to be exactly the same because they have their opinions on things, but this is the reconciled spreadsheet. If I go down to the next page, essentially prior to any kind of GC markups, they've gone, they're roughly $305,000 difference. Adding in the markups, and they do their markups a little bit differently, but essentially we've got PM&C at $19,360,000. We've got Fogarty at $19,713,000. So essentially taking the average between those two, right now the construction cost estimate is at $19,537,000. So that gives us a better feeling where when they were originally $1 million off, they're now down to $353,000. When we did the DD estimate, our reconciled estimate, they were a little over $200,000 apart. Again, they're never going to be right on the money. So that gives us a feeling for where we're at through CD60s.
And that's on pace with what we expected, correct? Roughly?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at, when we did the DDs, we were around, what were we at, roughly 19 a little bit of change million. So it's
300
a little bit higher, but it's not, there's nothing that's, we're not like $2 million higher than we were at DD, which is a good thing.
And remember, that's the construction number, so we still have all of the contingencies that we've been carrying, as well as soft cost contingencies and so
Right.
forth.
Yeah,
Right.
what would be helpful, Ron, is you've been putting together a parallel
we're gonna-
spreadsheet that is like the total project cost, just so we can see where that compares previously.
Yeah, we can do a roll-up of the soft costs and the, I meant to do that, and I apologize, I didn't get to it. I was going to add that to the view just to show we were at a total, but we can do that.
Yeah, if you can do that and send that out either to me and I can send it to everybody, or send it out to the committee. So
Yep.
if anybody has any
Will do.
questions, we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Any questions before I take this off the screen?
No. Thank you.
Okay.
And then I only had one other discussion item here. Please review an update on proprietary items letter for future vote. Ron, is that you?
Ron and I went over some of that today. We've got it wasn't an action item for today, but we're sharing some comments. Ron, I think you had a good suggestion that maybe when we sort of iron through our edits, we potentially issue it out as a draft for review to the committee members prior to, and then it becomes a vote at the next meeting, which would be on the 26th.
Right. Yep.
It's a lot of stuff we've already talked about, but there's a few changes, and then a lot of it's language at this point, and having that investigation that you need, which Ron's group has done a detailed job on that, and then we'll have some motion language that can be used to vote on these. I don't think there's about 7 or 8 items.
Okay. So that'll be next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I have to jump off. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I think that's all the discussion items, unless anybody had anything else they wanted to discuss. And I honestly don't know if I can ask for a vote to adjourn the meeting because there's not enough of us.
So do we just?
So I think we just get up and leave. Thanks, Aaron.
Second.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, so Amanda,